Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to another awesome show of Real Estate Uncensored, where we are going to bring everything to you real estate. As you guys know, my name is Greg McDaniel. My trusted associate, Mr. Matt Johnson, he is desperately trying to claw his way back into the digital realm. He's having a little bit of tech problem, but he will be here ASAP. But you guys, we got an awesome show today for you. We've got a dear good friend of ours out of Canada. We got another crazy Canadian, our friendly people from the north. Going to make it rain with some knowledge. So Karri is here, and she's going to explain to you guys how she gets every one of her clients, buyers and sellers, to not just drag her around like a dog on a chain, but she commands control of the situation right up front, and she makes them come to her. That's right, to the office. A lot of us, that's very foreign to us. Come to her for a buyer or seller consult. Awesome, powerful stuff. So with that intro, Karri, welcome to the show. Let everybody know where you're from, what you do.
Hey, Greg, thank you. So I'm Karri Flatla. I'm with Remax Real Estate Lethbridge in Alberta, Canada. Lethbridge is just north of Montana, a couple hours south of Calgary, home of the Stampede for the Americans who don't know where we are. So, yeah, about 100,000 people in Lethbridge. I've been in real estate for 5.5 years, so kind of a late bloomer. Came into it when I was about 39 or 40. And I've been with Remax for most of the time. I'm not Bob from Remax. I'm Karri from Remax. And yeah, had some good growth over the last 5 years. Have a full-time buyer's associate with me now. And yeah, we're kicking it. Good.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
So in your previous life, Karri, were you like a drill sergeant? How do you command your clientele to come in?
My husband would say that. He's not going to watch this.
Good. Then we have free reign here on the show. We're going to
Right.
talk about all kinds of amazing things. And dude, the funny thing is, we were talking about my friend Sarah in Calgary. I had no idea what this whole Stampede thing is. If you guys got to go look this thing up, it's like a full week of just nonstop partying. And somehow magically there's a lot of kids born 9 months later. So weird that it's partying and fun and beer and then kids. Weird.
Beer, kids.
Yeah.
Canadian beer, kids. Yeah.
So let's break this down right off the bat, because I know a lot of people are watching. Thank you guys all for watching right now and supporting us, guys. I want you guys to interact and talk to each other. I want you guys to share this out. I want you to subscribe, like, and follow both Karri and myself. Turn the notifications on to see now, or see first, so you get notified when we come on live. But Karri, I want you to go back to the very beginning. I want you to kind of walk us through when you got into business. How did you build this mindset of getting into doing getting your clientele to come in and come into the office?
Sure. So I would say in the beginning, I was probably like any other realtor, kind of more conventional, typical way of managing clients. So get a sign call, go meet somebody at the house, that kind of thing, listing appointments, go sit at the kitchen table. I was doing everything pretty conventionally up until about a year ago.
Mm-hmm.
And it was good, like I did did my fair share of business. And, but I'm a big believer in designing a business around what works for you and how you can perform optimally. Right. So, I'm an introvert by nature. I'm a learned extrovert. So I can be extroverted when I need to be, and that's obviously required in this business. But as an introvert who's also somewhat analytical, I did not like the chaotic feeling of sort of running around town chasing business, as it were. So, for example, I guess, yeah, I'll kind of walk that back a bit. So in 2014, and maybe this was the seed of it in my mind. In 2014, our regulator in Alberta said buyer brokerage agreements are now mandatory. You need to get that paperwork signed before there's an offer. And of course, everybody thought the sky was falling and the world was going to end, and realtors thought this was just the end of real estate as we know it, and nobody's ever going to sign that paperwork, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
But I talked to a few people who were doing things differently and had used that paperwork for years. And I started to see there was a different way to do real estate. And I thought, well, gee, I had tried a few times, like standing in the house while we're looking at houses, trying to get people to sign paperwork, and it was super uncomfortable. And in that environment, I was realizing people are distracted. They're looking at the granite counters. They're like thinking about buying a house. They're in an emotionally charged state. And so it was very awkward and uncomfortable to get that paperwork signed. And then trying to also explain, like, here's my home buyer package and everything we do, and you're rushing through it because they just want to like go home and eat after looking at 10 houses or whatever. So I didn't like that. And maybe I am a drill sergeant, but I like to be in control, right? I was like, I can't express my value, build rapport when they're like looking around like this and telling the kids to like stop touching that thing, and right. So that drove me nuts. And then so I guess that was the seed of coming into the office, because I thought, why don't I have new buyers meet me at the office for that initial consult, but we can go look at houses after, right? Because all they care about is, I just want to see some houses, right? I don't care about your street paperwork and whatever. But it's all in how you present it when you have that initial discussion on the phone, which again, I think a lot of realtors are missing. That initial conversation sets the tone for everything, right? So instead of, oh, hi, Sally. Okay, yeah, you want to see 123 Main Street. Okay, I'll meet you there too. Bye. Like that does not happen in on our team ever.
Really?
So no. So the discussion is, you ask some gentle pre-qualifying questions, start sussing them out, you know.
Beating up the clients right off the bat. You kind of warm them up before the beating begins. You're like, come on in. Let's be nice first.
Right. Like build some rapport, show some curiosity about like, oh, so what brings you into the market? And, you know, and usually somewhere in that conversation towards the end, so have you talked with a lender yet? You know, if you say it a certain way, they'll talk, right? And so here's the trick. There's no asking when you talk about meeting at the office. This is what we do. So if I call the dentist or I call a therapist and book an appointment, we all need therapy. Totally. Especially after Stampede. So you know, you do what they say. If you call a lawyer, it's like, okay, so I'll see you at 4:00. Our office is at like 515 6th Street South downtown. See you there. And you're like, okay. Right. So I find the real estate consumer is really no different. There's a few challenges because they have some preconceived notions about us being order takers and I want to see a house, let me in kind of thing. But I don't find it's as much like that as you would think. So it's just like, okay, so, you know, we'll take a look and see if there's some other houses we can show you now that I know your criteria. And we always meet at the office first for a short consultation. I'd like to get to know you a little bit better. And then we'll go see some houses. That sound good? Nobody's ever said no. Like the odd person is like, I can't, we're out of time, I got to be somewhere or whatever.
I could see Matt saying no, just to mess with you. Matt's gonna be like, no, that doesn't work for me. No, can't do it.
No,
you know,
but it does require me to leave the house. Coming to Karri's office requires me to leave my office, which is where I live, and
well,
so
you have to bring your own pee jar with you for your safety and so that you don't feel weird. You know, because you can't use anyone else's bathrooms.
Yes. Thank you for welcoming me to the show with that line.
PP jar Johnson.
Yeah.
But I mean, Karri,
I understand.
What Karri's like, you do that too? That's so weird.
Hey, when I use a public restroom, there's a lot of inspecting going on before I touch anything. Sometimes I just do a 180 and leave.
You're like, nope. But
this is a no.
Shut it down.
So the thing is, Karri, the thing I like about you so much is that you have a very sweet demeanor, but you also walk silently. But I can tell that you carry a big club. Like you're very nice, but you're like, bitch, you're gonna do what I tell you to do. But you also have 2 teenage boys, so you've learned this trait.
I'm outnumbered between my husband and my kids. Like I'm so outnumbered. Yeah.
Learn to fend for yourself in the woods. But I mean,
that's right.
We joke about this a lot, but I really want to dig into that a little bit more. You really do own your space. Like when you were talking about it, I mean, I had no sense that you were not kidding. Like if you were my agent, I would be like, oh, okay, that's what we do. We just go there. Now, a lot of the times, us agents, we allow the client to dictate the next steps instead of taking client control and moving forward and saying, look, I'm the leader, I'm the professional. This is how I operate my business. This is the next step. And it seems like you've absolutely mastered that. Did it take a long time to do that, or was that kind of natural to you? How's that work?
I think it took some time to be confident, for sure. Like with anything, right? But it's like the more you do it, and you see people. How do I say this in a nice way? So
just say it. Just do it.
People want to be led.
Yes.
Right? If they didn't want your leadership, they would go do this on their own. Right? So, so here's a great story, just to put it in context. My dad used to work in the car business, not a whole lot different than real estate in a lot of ways, although people are coming to you. But so he used to work for this guy who's in the business for years and years and years, and he was a master salesman, but a great guy, all integrity, just awesome guy. And the salespeople would often go to him and say oh, Sally and John are driving me crazy. They come on the lot every Saturday and they just kick tires and can't get them to do anything and they waste my time and blah, blah, blah. And Daryl would say, well, have you put them in a car and take them for a test drive? No, they won't do that. And blah, blah, blah. So the next time Sally and John come on the lot and they're supposedly kicking tires, and I can't act it out for you because I'm attached to my phone, but basically Daryl would just pick up the keys off the hook in the sales office and say, let's go for a test drive. And he would turn his back on Sally and John and start walking across the lot toward a car. And Sally and John would go, okay. And now they're in the car. Right?
That makes perfect sense.
And then they get in the car and now they're probably going to buy a car because there's a reason they've been on the lot so-called kicking tires. It's just nobody took the lead and gave them permission to go to the next step, right? So with consultations with buyers or sellers, you're just taking the lead and they're comforted by the fact that you have a proven structure and system and process in place, and and you have to sell it a little bit, but you have to be confident. This is what we do. And it's how you have to pitch it as a benefit to them, right? So we can get to know you, do a bit of a needs analysis. And of course you have to have the carrot, and then we'll go see some homes. We'll review our service agreement, blah, blah, blah. Now I'm making it sound super easy, but we have a whole bunch of stuff that happens after that phone call, but before the meeting too.
I figured there'd be more parts, in this cog.
Yeah. And it's very similar with buyers or sellers. So we send out our presentation prior to that meeting, right? So now I know in some markets, I don't think it's common here, but in some markets, people hand deliver stuff and do all this stuff. I don't usually do that, depending on the client. We have some online material that we use, but we send out our presentation, and I hate the word presentation. It's more, we call it our home buyer package. Okay. Which talks about how we're going to help you and take care of you. And these are words you have to use with people, right? Client care program, how we're going to help you get the best home for the least amount of money and have a little fun, all those kinds of things. That gets sent out beforehand, along with a short agenda of what is going to be discussed in that meeting.
Oh, I love that.
In any other profession, would you have no agenda, or would you just kind of screw around and hope for the best?
We're the only bunch of dipshits that actually think that screwing around and not having an agenda is actually going to get us paid.
Right. So if you go to the doctor and you're going in for a consult because doctor, it hurts when I do this with my arm, or I think I might have cancer, whatever. And if the doctor just walks in and is screwing around and asking you about your cats and isn't really sure what he wants to talk about, there's no clipboard, there's no computer. You would not feel very comfortable with that doctor.
Right. I would be very uncomfortable with that doctor asking me about Greg's cat. So it's a very odd question.
Hey, my furry idiots are awesome. That's an important part. Like, how's Bandito? Good. It's still black. How's Sudi? Good. Still fat.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
it is having that checklist. But what you're doing is that you're doing the traditional sales thing. You're going to tell them what you're going to tell them. Then you tell them. Then you tell them what you told them. And they're like, finally in the third part, they're like, oh, I get it. Is this what you're talking about? You're like, yes, this is what I've been talking about.
Yeah. And so even in that phone conversation, if you can, it's good to say, like, so obviously you get their email address too. And you're like, okay, so when we meet on Saturday, or before we meet on Saturday, I'm going to send you some information in advance. Take a few minutes to read it if you can. And then we'll sit down, save up all your questions for me. We'll go through how we're going to take care of you, review your paperwork, and then we'll go see some houses and get you started. Right.
Yes.
And why would someone say no to that? It's like, you're doing all these things to take care of me. I love it. And they feel safe, and it's scary. And I think we forget how afraid people sometimes are to call a realtor. Like, I've actually had people say, like, we were so nervous before we called you, and oh my God, you're right. Because as soon as they make contact with a serious real estate agent, like, that means they're moving forward.
Yeah,
right?
shit just got real.
Yep.
Shit just got real. Absolutely. So, you know, all those things. And then even before you have that initial consult, you know, and time gets away on us and we can't always do this, but if you can phone them again the day before to confirm, again, like the dentist office, you know, hey, Sally, just calling to confirm our appointment for 2:00 tomorrow. Oh, yeah, that's good. And sometimes you can suss out more about that client even in that check-in. Like, I had one situation where the husband answers and he goes, oh, geez, Karri, you know what? Like, my wife's working tomorrow. Is it okay if I just come by myself? Well, actually, it's not. But if I hadn't, if I hadn't checked in prior to the appointment, only one of the spouses would have shown up. There's no way I could have got, that's of no value to them because they both have to make that decision. Would have wasted a whole bunch of time meeting a second time. And, you know, so you confirm and then like, oh, did you have a chance to read the email I sent you? Oh, yeah. Or, oh, I'm going to look at that tonight with Sally, right? So these are all things you're just preparing, guiding. They've never done this before. They haven't real estated for 5 years, maybe never, right? So we're teaching them. And I'm a big believer in structure because I think when you have good structure, you can take more risks. It's like sort of counterintuitive, right?
Right.
But when you provide structure, you can take more risks as a realtor and you can pivot and say things and be intuitive, and the client feels safe because, like, man, she's got her shit together. Like, this is the program, right?
Yeah.
So it builds confidence.
It does build confidence. You know, it goes back to a story the other day, is that we all get caught up in that. Since we do real estate every day, like, it's like breathing for us. It's not scary. We don't have anything emotionally invested in this, right? So we sometimes forget how high emotions are running on either the buyer or the seller side. I mean, I had a gal who she hasn't bought. She called real estate. You said real estating. She said the exact same thing. I haven't done any real estating. I'm like, holy shit! Is this like hashtag real estating? We're gonna start a trend today. But she got on the phone. I got real estated. But I got real estated last night. It was weird, man. I got a hangover. But the thing is,
it was just a one night thing.
It was a one night real estating thing. It just happened. I don't know what to say.
God, you too. Good Lord.
Oh, dude, you missed the pre-show. She and I were rolling.
Oh,
we had a whole new marketing plan for her coffee company.
Oh, good. Wait, are we going to remarket Tim Hortons? Is that what's happening?
Yes, we are. We'll tell you in the post-show. Trust me.
Okay, good. I want to hear about
this lady, when I was talking to her, she started crying on the phone because she was so scared about the process. And so I pumped the brakes, I dialed it back, and I just started walking through each step with her. And it should have been a 10-minute phone call in my mind. We turned into almost an hour-long phone call because she needed to understand how this worked. And I love your approach, Karri, because you come in it as a professional, dictating you're controlling the air that's around you, but you're also doing it in a very caring, loving way towards these clients. Because, I mean, if all of us real estate agents, we should go buy a piece of property every couple of years or sell a property every couple of years, so you go through the emotional roller coaster and you remember it. Or go buy a car. I mean, when I bought my SRT, dude, I did not sleep well that night before because I'm like, what if someone comes in and gets it? Well, whew, I got my money, and I was on that lot at 9 a.m. going, kaboom, mine. And
Yeah. And that's a car, which is still
yeah,
only a fraction of the price of a house,
right.
right?
Exactly
Yeah.
right. And so, actually, right now, one of my coaching clients, Ryan, is watching us right now. Ryan, knuckles to you, homie. And so, Carrie, I think what we're talking about with you is very, very good because Ryan likes to do consults with his buyers in the office. So, could we run through what those consults look like when you get in the office? And so, Ryan, take notes. Hey,
So do
Ryan's
you
like,
want me to focus on buyers or sellers? I mean, it's
whatever you're
similar,
comfortable
but
with.
yeah,
Whatever you're comfortable with.
because it's different. Well, if Ryan's interested in talking about buyers, and so to be clear, like I don't work with the buyers anymore. My associate does, but she does an amazing job of this. So they come into the office and they've already been exposed to our home buyer package. They have the agenda. It's like, and it's nothing complicated. We're talking like 3 or 4 bullet points in the email. And based on the client, we at minimum have exposed them to at least some of our paperwork so they know what's coming, because this is what realtors get afraid of, is like you do all this selling, and you do all this client care, but the client doesn't necessarily know that you're like slamming down paperwork for signatures, right? They hear contract and they're like, whoa.
No, wait, are we
Right?
talking about in the initial consult where you're reviewing paperwork that they will sign, like when they make a purchase,
so
right?
I love that. I love that idea.
Well, no, buyer brokerage agreement, right? In Alberta, they sign a service agreement. Now, yeah, you can get them to sign the service agreement right before they write the offer, but is that really in the best interest of the client if they don't understand your obligations to them, your fiduciary responsibilities, how we're going to take care of you, agency duties, all that kind of, weird stuff that's intimidating. So everything leading up to that consult is preparing them for how we work, right? So so by the time they sit down with my associate, or it used to be me, then we have hard copies of everything they've seen digitally, because repetition is important, right? And we want them to have that home buyer package with them. And I'll even say to people, this is the standard you can hold me to. This is your guidebook throughout this process, right? And so Regan will sit down with them. And, the first thing is build rapport, because chances are you've never met them face to face yet. Spend a couple minutes doing that. And then I just bring it right back to the agenda. Like, so did you have a chance to look at the email I sent you? Oh, yeah, I took a quick look. Now, that question will tell you a lot about the personality type of the client.
Yes, it does.
Right? An analytical person will have read that package line by line. Right? They know everything about you, and maybe more about you than you know about you. They've Googled you. They've talked to the neighbors. They've read your contracts. They know your commission. Everything, right?
So they go all the way back. They're like, so I see your sophomore year in college, you average a C minus. What happened? Because the first was an A minus.
Exactly.
Did something take place there we need to be aware of in this transaction?
Yeah, a little weakness there. So.
Oh man.
Yeah, but really, so if they say, oh yeah, I read it all, and they've got like a list of questions, and you're okay, I'm dealing with an analytical person, and that will frame how you go forward. If they're like, well, yeah, I skimmed it, okay, you're dealing with more of a right-brained Greg.
You're dealing with me.
I just waited for him, that's me.
I perused at my leisure.
Yeah,
I saw that you emailed me. I didn't read it, but give me the bullet points.
Sometimes it is shorthand for, I never looked at that.
Yeah.
Right. So, and then they feel embarrassed, right? You're like, oh no, it's okay. We're gonna go over everything, right? But then at least the
that's
level
the difference.
of detail.
Greg and I don't feel embarrassed.
Yeah.
that is a high D. That's a high D for you. We'll tell you we skimmed it, even if we did. We still skimmed it, but anyway, and we're not ashamed. We do not feel bad because you're gonna tell me, and I only need you to tell me once, and then I'm gonna get it, and I'm gonna make a decision.
Bottom line it.
Bottom line.
I'm skimming it as I'm talking on my phone. I'm like, yeah, I got it. Hold on a second. There's the email. Yep. You have the word "the" in there. That's fantastic.
Oh, great.
Yeah, for sure.
So you're looking for those indications, right? So you
yes.
go through, right? So have you reviewed it based on their answer? You know a little bit about what you're dealing with. Now let's say they haven't. Let's say they haven't reviewed it, right?
And
so
then
what do you do
I just
at that
put
point?
them right at ease, and I say, no problem at all. Everybody's busy. That's why we have this meeting.
Okay.
And so just to briefly go over what we're going to discuss today, and like Greg said, it's like you're saying what you're going to say, right? So they know what's coming. Yeah. So it's like, we're going to do this. We're going to talk about this. We're going to talk about this. And then if you're comfortable with everything, are you ready to get started? And then we go from there. And so then we just go to the beginning. We talk about their needs, their goals, their concerns. Did you have any questions? And we pull that home buyer package out or the seller package out, and like I open it up, right? Like I open it up to the first page, which is basically a summary of the rest of the book. And just usually you can find like a jumping off point, because everybody has something that's like keeping them awake at night about this process, but it's different for everybody. An effective home buyer or seller package will speak to all the common concerns. You just flip to that part of the book and you just start talking, right? Ask lots of questions.
Do you ever do like an FAQ? Little summary thing. That's another thing that kind of popped in my head just now. Like, just build an FAQs, just give it to them, give them all the answers, and then if they have more questions, add that to the FAQ and just start building that massive FAQ. You can drop off in a pre-listing package with, here are the common asked questions, here are the answers, this is how our team handles it, here's how we're different, here's all the paperwork you're going to sign, all the red writing, that's all where it's going to fill in. This is what traditionally is said. You guys stay up until 2 o'clock in the morning reading it. God bless you. Yeah. If you have insomnia, this will cure it. But it will help them through that whole process. You gave me a great idea, and I really love that, because it does two things. It's one, it's going to show you as a professional. Two, it's going to help them come, at ease, because they don't know what this paperwork is. A lot of clients like, I don't know what I'm signing. I don't know what I'm signing.
Right.
And then they know what to expect on that paperwork when it comes through, and they can kind of become part of the process with you. But I mean, I don't know any other agent that has ever handed out, hey, here's your purchase contract, here's the standard fields, this is where we're going to see different numbers, this is what we should see, and allow people to become ingrained in it, so they're not just like, okay, here's a contract, just press hard, there's 3 copies. Don't worry.
Right. And that's a good point, Greg. So this is actually something we've just started integrating in the last few months. Seller or buyer, part of that whole big package they get has a blank purchase agreement in it. So, it's like, okay, well, if you want to put yourself to sleep at night, make sure you read this. But
so true.
It's like, it's there. It's just another tool, right? Like, I just look at everything in that package as a tool, it's like a toolkit based on that person's fears, personality, what they are focused on. You can pull out the tool and go, yes, here it is. Let's talk about that, right? So I had one set of homeowners, like a young couple in my office a little while ago. They were more on the analytical side, I would say. I don't believe they had sold a home before. And so they had questions about the negotiation, and I think it was to do with home inspections or something like that. And I just pulled out the purchase contract, turned to Section 8 and said, well, here's the section that outlines the conditions around your inspection, financing, blah. Here's how we like to negotiate that to try and minimize the risk to you as the homeowner when we're negotiating that inspection condition. But it just shows you're prepared. It's like, but a lot of people wouldn't be interested in that, right? But they were. So some people are focused on the marketing, right? So it's like you turn to that section in your book and say, okay, well, how would you like that to go? And then you try and address some of their questions about that. So, because you never want, because I've done it this way and it's painful, you never want to do it as a presentation where you're going point by point, page by page, or on a PowerPoint or whatever it is. Because people they just can't take it, right? Like their minds are already so full of other stuff. Yeah. So nobody wants to be presented to, so our consultations are a conversation. It's a two-way discussion. And you dance with the client based on whatever is kind of top of mind, but it's also your job to raise the grain on their objections.
What you just said there was a very powerful thing, but we skipped over it very quickly, and I want to back up to it really fast. You used the phrase you're dancing with the client, because in a conversation, every conversation is an exchange of energy, right? And if you dance with your husband or your wife, us clodhopper males, we generally step on you pretty ladies' feet sometimes,
Right.
and it's not the most comfortable thing. And sometimes all of us are guilty of being the clodhopping male, just stepping on people's feet because we don't know to be a little bit more delicate and understand where this person is. And I like what you're talking about, the two-way conversation. I'm not dictating to you. I'm a part of a live, living conversation, and I can help answer different questions. And if someone has more questions on, well, what if blah, 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 or in this scenario, what if blank, blank happens? You can address those in the dance and give them the energy. They're giving off the energy of needing more, so you allow them to have that moment. I think that's a powerful thing. A lot of us high Ds will just mow right through, a conversation like a bull in a china shop.
Yeah.
Matt and I do that quite often. We just push on through our agendas, and we're like, we should probably shut up and listen to the other person.
And the other, it's counterintuitive. So if you're high D, it's tempting to just keep talking because you're like, I know what I'm talking about. Doesn't everybody else know what I'm talking about? Right. So but the fact is like you said, most people don't do this. They've been in the real estate business for half an hour, which is the time they've been sitting in your office. We've been in it for years and done it hundreds of times. So we have to keep on backing up and checking in. Right. But the flip side of that is if a realtor gets nervous, then they just talk to get it all out. Yep. Right. And that's a rookie mistake. And I'm guilty of it. Like we all have done it. And then they just sit there and kind of nod and you think they're understanding and they're not, because they're just being polite. And so you just got to slow down and let silence do the heavy lifting and everybody just take a breath.
It's so true. I mean, they're probably thinking if they emptied the dishwasher now because they aren't getting it, they're like, oh fuck, I'm screwed. I just might as well just nod and smile at this point, and I'll ask questions later.
Totally.
It's like a lot of first dates. How fast can this be over? This is painful.
Why am I doing all the talking? I just want to go home.
I just want to go home. The wine sucks. My company's rude, and all he does is talk about himself and his football days back in junior high.
Yeah. So people want to just feel heard. That's all they want. They just want to be heard.
So here's a question for you. You have mastered getting people into your office. So with EXP, we don't have offices, right?
Right.
Help me understand, if someone is with EXP or a digital brokerage or something like that, how would you run that consult if you didn't have a location? Would you pick a Dick Horton, Steve Horton's, whatever, the Horton place, the coffee plot?
Steve, yeah.
Steve Horton.
Yeah, don't becoming very distracting. So, I want sipping on my Tims.
Oh my God, I so want to tell them about our new marketing plan, but I'm going to refrain.
I might get sued by Tim Hortons if we do that. So. We'll take that offline.
Yes.
So if it was a virtual brokerage, which I totally get the economics of that and why that's becoming popular, like I think it's an awesome business model. I would still meet outside of a house. Again, counterintuitive, right? Because we're in real estate, we sit in people's houses and we go look at houses and that's where we do our real estating. But the problem is if you're in a home, whether it's the seller's home or a home that the buyer has just viewed with you, there's a whole bunch of problems with that. So if you're sitting at the kitchen table with a seller, the spaghetti's boiling over, the laundry's beeping, kids are crying, one of the spouses has to get up and go settle down the baby who's supposed to be napping but isn't, because they'll always wake up when the realtor gets there. Dogs barking, just shit's happening everywhere because that's people's lives. All our lives are messy, right? It is not serving the homeowner to be in that chaotic environment when you're trying to explain the biggest transaction of their life and how that is going to go down. The other thing is, even if it's somebody in a quiet house that doesn't have any of those things going on, it's an emotionally charged environment. So you said, Greg, about controlling I can't remember how you put it. It was very elegant, controlling the air around you kind of thing.
Airspace around you. Yeah.
It's like climate control, right? Yeah,
yes.
Own the airspace. So they're in an emotionally charged environment because they're like, I'm going to sell my house, and they have all kinds of emotions attached to that that you don't even know yet.
Yeah.
Very distracting, right? It's almost like they're vulnerable, and it's just I think it's not a great environment to help them make a really big decision, which is whether or not to work with you. And if it's a buyer in a house, like, it's the same thing. They can't slow down enough emotionally to listen. Like, it's so hard to listen when you're in an emotionally charged setting. So if you have a virtual brokerage, I would just say, personally, not a busy environment. Like, I think EXP uses is it Regis?
Yeah, Regis Work Centers, yeah.
Business, yeah. I would still use a professional office. And here's the reason, using the doctor analogy, if you go into a clinic and it looks like a freaking ghetto, do you feel good about somebody?
Wait, do you have ghettos in Canada? I thought everything was just nice and magical and sparkly.
Yeah, we have unicorns here. Didn't you know that?
Yeah, come on now. That's the deal, right? I mean, I was going to go on a whole trip to see him.
Oh my God.
But when someone steps into a professional office, doesn't it create a different, like, wow, these people are like professionals, right? Like, it's clean and it's nice and there's a nice place to sit and it's professional, you know? It's like going to see a lawyer. Maybe that's a better example than a doctor. But, you know, if you go into a lawyer's office, usually it's to do some serious business, right? And if they're like in a little hole in the wall with like a fold out chair, you might not feel so good about how that's all going to go down. You know, did you get your license out of a Cracker Jack box? Or like, you know. So,
what, you didn't? Oh, shit.
Well, yeah, I did. But so, you know, I just think environment has such an impact on people's emotions and state of mind, right? So when people come into my office, it just changes the tone of everything. It puts you in control of the airspace, and it's not a distracted environment, but it's a professional environment. Like, I'm as serious about this as you are, right? I take this very seriously, and your environment signals a lot about how seriously you take it.
Right. And so basically, no matter where you do it, it's a controlled, quiet environment where you're dictating the terms of the influencers. They're going to come into this closed environment while you're talking about what's going to happen next. So it could be maybe your personality is get them into a car. Like, I love to get them, you know, like first-time home buyers. I like to get them into my car where I can control the environment, the temperature, everything. I am the captain of the ship because I'm taking them where I want to take them. And I'm going to show them what I want to show them. And I tell them that, guys, I'm going to get in the car. We're going to look at a smattering of different products around in the areas. We're going to be showing you the pros and cons of different marketplaces. We're going to be able to have some good times together, and we're going to talk. Now, if they have kids, they don't come in my car. But
Greg
has a trailer on the back of the Jeep for that.
I just hook them up back.
4x6.
I just strap them to the top on the rack. And the kid needs some air anyways.
Yeah, in Alberta, we just throw them in the back of the pickup and we go.
No, the real reason I don't let kids in my car is the fact that, like 15 years ago when I first started, my parents had a friend of theirs, and they brought their kid in the car, and this little fucker, you know, he had his little hands that just all over the window. Then the remote control for the window, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down. It just pop, back of the hand slap. And I locked the doors, and I was about ready to strangle this little small human to non-existence. I'm like, one and only times I take a crib midget into my vehicle and I show homes. But all joking aside, you do want to control that environment, and you want to have it no matter where it is, and because you've got to control it, otherwise they will control it.
But it also services the client, right? Like we said at the beginning of the show, like if they wanted to be the leader of all of this, they would go research how to do it themselves and figure it all out. Right? So they want to be led. It's like if I pay a contractor to come in and redo my deck, it's because I don't want to do it. You know, like there's so many things I'll pay somebody to do because I don't want to figure it out. Just guide me and do it do it to a standard that I like, right? Like listen to me, take my input, but you're the professional. make sure that all the T's are crossed and I's are dotted and it's correct, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Exactly right. And so if someone's never done that, how would they, what if they're nervous? They hear you talking, you make it so easy, when you're on the show with us and in your career and everything else. What would be something that someone could do to take actions today to start owning their airspace? When you made that transformation over, how nervous were you? What did you do? Did you ramp yourself up? How did you get to that next level?
It was a kind of a slow burn with the buyers. I would say if you're looking to start that, I always start with a structure. Like that, to me, if you kind of got nothing to go on, you've got to give yourself some kind of structure. So I would just sit down and say, okay, how do I do things? How do I want to do things? And I would just write out the steps of your process, whatever that is. Like you take people in your car and maybe you have a different way of doing it, but like just get clear on what your steps are. And then because you can't say it with confidence if you don't even know which way this ship's going. And I think that's where realtors fall down, is they're kind of winging it. Maybe they understand how to write an offer and do the mechanics of real estate, but do you have a process for your clients? And just document that process. And if you know that process like the back of your hand, it just gets so easy to say it. And then I think the other thing is, I know I'm simplifying, but it's like you just say, this is what we do. And tell them what's coming. You just tell them what's coming. And I think that first discussion on the phone is just like critical to everything. And quite often when I take a call or I call somebody back, I'll have a couple, some bullet points to remind me, because we're all busy. I mean, a pilot of a commercial jet would never take that plane off the tarmac without a very long checklist, even if he's been flying jets for 20 years. They always have a checklist. They have to, because you're human and you'll forget stuff. So you just think about it like that. Like I always try to make sure that whenever I take a call with a new potential client, again, I try to control that airspace for myself. Because if I just am in the car and I'm doing stuff and I'm trying to ask them questions about what they're looking for or whatever, it just doesn't go as well.
Well, there's something there that I want to touch on really quickly, and that's a whole nother side of this. You guys need to get into state. You need to get mentally in this box that you're going to step into, because if you're not in state with where you're going, you're not going to bring them into state and get them focused on what the next steps are and be able to provide the best, environment. So you can, Amy Cuddy, she did a phenomenal TED Talk. Go look her up about, getting into state by doing different poses for about 2 to 3 minutes. The Superman, the vertical V, or the boss. And if you're having a little bit of a fucked up day, your spouse is yelling at you, your kids are driving you through up the wall, you just lost a listing, another agent's a dick, whatever it is. Send yourself for 5 minutes. Go in the bathroom stall, do the Victory V, do something you want. I like doing the boss. It's just comfortable. It's relaxing. You put my hands behind my head, put my feet up on my desk, and I'm the boss. I just kick it. But subconsciously, you'll go into a command state. And once you watch Amy Cuddy's TED Talk, which you guys should all go watch, that's where I think, Karri, what you do masterfully is because you obviously can control yourself, and you can own your space very well, so you don't let things rattle you. A lot of us who are newer in the business, might get rattled by something small. As small as, what if I don't have the answer to every single question?
Right.
You know who I'm talking to right now. You know who you are. I'm not saying your name, but you know who you are. I'm thinking of someone very special right now. But you don't need to know the answer. Matt is giving me the weirdest look.
Wow, that was wildly specific. There must be someone in the audience that I'm not aware of, but okay.
There is. But you don't need to. Karri, did you know the answer to every question a buyer could ever have? How did you handle that objection when you didn't have an answer to something? What did you do?
I'm pretty honest. I know sales trainers say, oh, well, you got to be able to answer every single question and every single objection. But sometimes you just got to be honest with people and say, I'm not really sure about that. I will totally figure, and don't just say, I'll go find out. Say like, I will get back to you, before we talk next time about that thing, because you can't, even people who've been in the business for decades do not know every potential situation, right? Like I have my broker license. I still got to go ask the broker who's been doing this for 40 years instead of 5 or 6 years, how something might have to work in a unique situation. So I think if people just see that you care and you're diligent, if people see you care and you're diligent and you're asking them a lot of questions and digging deeper about what their worry is, I've really never had somebody run away from me because of that. I have had feedback once or twice where a client said, you seemed a little bit unsure of yourself, because I'm a perfectionist. Like, I don't have a perfect answer. Oh my God, you just have to sometimes just show confidence that you will resolve that issue. But you can't know everything. This business is it's so complex. I mean, a real estate transaction, there's no two transactions alike, no two human beings alike, no two buyers alike, no two sellers alike, no two houses alike, so you're constantly pivoting and doing that dance all day long. It's a hard thing to get past. Like if you're especially if you're high D, right? Like I have a lot of that in my personality. It's like you just feel like you have to just know everything all the time or you're not good enough.
Yeah.
So
we look like ducks. We're cruising along. The duck on the top of the water looks, serene and just cruising, but those little legs are just under the water 1,000 miles an hour. Just kind of as it just floats across the water. I mean, I've been doing this for 18 years. I mean, back at my old company, if I on different contracts, unabashedly, I would trot my happy ass right into my controller's office, plop down, and be like, Irene, what the fuck does this do? Where does that go? How do I work this situation? And she's just an absolute, I love this woman. She loves everybody, but she's a high D. Her D ate her I. Okay, let's put it that way. And dude,
and she'll eat you for breakfast.
God, she would, Greg, you're an idiot. I'm like, I know. That's why I'm here.
I'm sorry.
But I learned so much stuff from her because I was vulnerable. I put myself out there. I'd tell my clients, you know what, guys, this is an incredibly complex transaction. Even though it seems simple, there's a lot of moving parts. Let me get clarification on this so that we don't misstep and step in a big pile of you-know-what and mess this up for you. Let me go talk to my people. I'll be back.
Sell your brokerage at that point, right? Like if you're an inexperienced realtor, there's nothing wrong with saying like, well, that's another benefit of being with this brokerage is we have this many full-time agents. We've got brokers here that have been in the business for 40 years. There's nothing they haven't seen. Like if something comes up that we don't expect, we have the expertise to provide a solution in a timely fashion and protect you, right? So you can use that, right? So I think as like the rookie realtors, you've just got to be afraid and do it anyway. And it's so much easier said than done.
Oh God, yeah.
But that structure makes all the difference because I know what it feels like to have somebody say that, like, hey, just be confident. Does that count? I'm confident.
It's all good.
It's fine. But anyway,
it's like a Seinfeld comment coming up here somewhere.
It's like no, like having the structure is what allows you to go, you know what, I actually don't know the answer to that. Like, and they go, oh, okay, I must have found a random exception, because when you have that structure and you're leading them through and you're super confident, and then they manage to find one small sliver, of a thing that you don't quite know how to answer, it doesn't give them the same sense of insecurity as if you're flying by the seat of your pants the whole time, and then they brought something up that you have no idea how to answer.
So like, and that I also don't know that.
Yes, I don't know that, and I don't know that, and I have no idea what we're doing tomorrow, and where are we going to eat, and where are we meeting tomorrow again? Can you help me out with that? So I mean, it's that systematic kind of fallback structure or process. Or process, as you say it, that makes all the difference and gives them the security blanket, even when they do find something that you don't quite have the answer to.
And I'll give you a hack for that.
Okay.
And this is going to make someone like Greg just like turn inside out. But if you can just spend one afternoon doing this once a year.
No.
So you said something about purchase contracts, and if your jurisdictions or like our jurisdictions, they like to change them all the time.
Yes, they do.
and just drive the lawyers and the realtors up the wall. So, but that purchase contract is like the foundation of everything we do, like everything, right? And if even a rookie realtor can do this, sit down with your broker or someone who's very, very smart. And I've done this with people on my team, line by line. What does this mean? What does this mean? What does this mean? What are the pitfalls of filling this out incorrectly, right? And if you can just nail that 6-page purchase agreement, that alone will take care of 75% of your confidence issues about how do I handle this situation or that situation, right? Because if they see that you can understand those fundamental mechanics of the negotiation, I think that builds a lot of confidence, because that's the scariest part of the deal, right? Is making the offer and negotiating. And for some reason, it gets completely overlooked in real estate marketing and presentations. And we sort of forget that when the rubber meets the road, it's that purchase agreement and your knowledge and expertise around that. And any rookie can at least master that 6-page document, I think.
You only have a 6-page contract?
Well, it gets added onto with a whole bunch of other
all the addendum.
Supplementary.
We have up to a 25-page contract now with all the different things you add on to everything, all of the CYA clauses. But, when I first got in the business, Karri, that's exactly what I did. Before ISAs or before, any kind of staff were a thing. Kay Fisher was the lady that I went to. She did all of our documents. She did all of our, admin work. And I sat down with her. I said, Kay, I don't know what I'm doing. Can you help me? Every week, I would go sit in her chair next to her. I would have my contract right in hand. I would have a red pen, and she would walk through a different page or two of the contract. I would fill it in red. I would understand why. I would understand the ramifications of what this happened and what other documents would be associated with that, how that would affect this, everything. And I kept that stapled in my drawer, so when I wrote the contract, I could go and I would go back and go, where's the red ink? Okay, this is what I do here. This is what I do here.
Right.
And you know what? I looked at it every day when I was doing calls or something else. I was a student of that contract, because like you said, that's what everything hinges off of.
It does.
That's your foundation of everything. And if you can understand how to be a master of that contract, your clients are going to get what they want, and therefore your business will flourish. It's all the foundation is right there.
And I mean, you want to impress clients and get that 5-star review later. When the rubber meets the road and you can perform and you can negotiate all the price, terms, conditions on that contract, that's where you can really wow your clients.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly.
We kind of forget that. I think we get caught up in the sales and the marketing, but that contract, if you don't know what you're doing there, that's where things can go very badly for your clients in the long run.
Very
so,
badly.
We're not lawyers, but boy, if realtors could just get mastery over that contract, it instills confidence in your client, because that is a legal document worth hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Yeah, just think about that. It's not just 6 pages on, with black print and white paper. Yeah. It has real life ramifications for you and your clients. And the one thing you need to understand, guys, at least in California, was something that irritates the living shit out of me, is that a contract is never solid. It is always fluid. And so there's no certainty. There's always that gray. You operate in gray the entire way through a contract, because the documents can manipulate and completely, derail you if you don't know how to, push those off and not allow those to come in. Matt's giving me a look of the fuck are you talking about? But it's true. I mean, I almost lost a couple of deals several years ago. There's just bitch of an agent. I absolutely have a visceral hatred towards this woman.
I'm not laughing.
I have one too. But you know what? She tried to sabotage my deal because of what she was doing, and I talked to my controller through this, and she explained what was going on. And there was things happening I didn't even know that were happening that could affect me based upon the way this thing was written from the very onset. So I learned a lot from becoming a better student of the contract and just being vulnerable and open and transparent. Hey, I'm human. I don't always get everything. It's okay. Yeah. But if they work with you, Karri, you're going to take them, you're going to, like a big umbrella, you're going to cover them and make sure they're perfectly okay, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, sell that one. Matt, we are getting close to bingo on this one, brother.
Yeah, it's about time to wrap it up. So first of all, Karri, tell people kind of the area that you cover and what's the best way to reach out and connect with you about sending you referrals.
Sure. We are in Lethbridge, Alberta, so we definitely have become a bit of a catchment area for, Alberta's going through lots of change right now, trying to come out of a recession. People are moving, getting laid off, very mobile province right now. So we definitely take a lot of referrals in Lethbridge from people coming in, both in Alberta and other parts of the country. Karri Flatla and Associates at karriflatla.com. That's how you find me. And I'm on Facebook. I'm on Instagram. If you look up Karri Flatla, pretty easy to find me just about anywhere online.
Nice.
Yeah.
Good. You make it simple for everyone. Thank you for doing that.
Right.
Simple's good. Yeah.
All right, and then let me briefly mention live stream. So if you want to plug into some of the top training in the country, our buddy Jeff Cohn, who was he just on the show? Going to be on the show?
He was on the show last week.
Last week, yeah. So he was just on the show last week, and he briefly touched on it. So like he's got a 50,000 square foot office in Omaha and 50 agents. They've got an amazing facilities. They've got like something like 4 cameras and 11 microphones. It's super high def, amazing quality. Some of the best training that you'll ever get in the industry. They broadcast twice a week, and you can get access to it for $17, which is half of my weekly Starbucks bill, I believe. And
daily
so
Starbucks bill.
Only half?
Starbucks, they got big britches. They think they're better than Tim Hortons. So anyway,
how dare
so if you want to plug into some of the best training that you can get, go to erslivestream.com. If you do join up and partner up with McDaniel Real Estate Systems, you actually get that included. We are working out the details and getting everybody set up with that. And so, Greg, how do people reach out about partnering up with us?
Guys, on the screen right now, if you're watching this, it says bookmcdaniel.com. I want you to go to that website, book 30 minutes with me. If you think the EXP might be a good fit for you, I want you to reach out to us, guys. We got a laundry list of extra value stuff that you're going to get with joining our team. Not to mention one-on-one coaching with me when time is available. I'm going to help you put at least 50 people on your team over the next 5 years or less. Matt's building a podcast program that you guys are going to be able to utilize Facebook Lives and then turn them into your own podcast. We're going to create, draw. People are going to come to you and talk about EXP, so your recruitment will be easier. All of our products you're going to get, the masterminds. I mean, it's just an awesome list, and we keep adding to it. So if you want value, you want to learn how to build wealth, not just collect a paycheck, guys, come over to EXP, go to bookmcdaniel.com. Let's get on a call. Stop fucking around. Let's do this. It's hashtag Change Life Day. Let's do this. bookmcdaniel.com.
All right. And then for the show, make sure to subscribe on iTunes or Stitcher. We appreciate everybody that tells your fellow agents and brokers about us. We've got even people outside of real estate. Some somehow stumble onto the podcast and watch us for some unknown reason. But we appreciate everybody that shares the show, and we love you for it. So let us know if there's anything we can do. Make sure to follow me and Greg on Facebook. Connect with Karri. Send her all of your referrals. And Greg, what else should we do on this?
Matt, I think you want to put a pink bow on it. That's what I think.
How about a very masculine silver bow? Put a silver bow on this episode.
We'll put silver bow because you're getting up there in the age. You're starting to get a little silver on the chin. We'll embrace that with you, buddy.
Okay.
I have pure white because I've dipped my chin in knowledge. I love you guys. Keep coming back. Keep sharing this stuff. If you've laughed a little bit, if you've learned a little bit, pass it on to someone else. If I've offended you a little bit, shake it off, player. You'll be fine. But we're coming back with another show as usual. But until we do that, guys, peace out, ninjas. We got